Hey, it's Van der Puchert, and this is the Creative Coffee Break, and I'm back in a flaming hot Poland. I mean, I didn't ever think that I would say that, but Poland is scorching. It's like, I don't know what's going on, global warming or whatever, but I want to go back to South Africa where it's a bit cooler because, drinking coffee in this weather is not conducive to being awesome. Anyway, as always, back here with the Creative Coffee Break to introduce you to some awesome people. Today is one of those days once again. And I'm really excited to introduce you to a good friend of mine, someone who I met even before I knew what she did, and I thought she was awesome. And then I found out all the crazy things that she does for a living, and I really wanted to have her here on a Creative Coffee Break. She's got 20 years of experience in hospitality and live event production. She's the owner of the Content Studio. I keep on wanting to say Content Hub, and she's going to slap me around for doing that, but it's the Content Studio, where she designs and produces large-scale and award-winning global events, and specifically working with brands that are really excited and keen to find ways to differentiate themselves. And one of the reasons she's on the show today is that she is a geek like me, loves design thinking, loves and uses experience design all the time and all the principles related to that to enhance participant experience. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second or two. Also, what's interesting is that she plays in a big scale live event space. But as we know, and we all share that experience, is that things changed a couple of years ago with all the crazy pandemic things. And she's evolved herself. So we're going to talk a little bit about hybrid, live, virtual, and all those awesome things. Then the other thing that makes her also kind of really awesome is that she was born in the Netherlands, so she is heel gezellig. She moved to Belgium, and then currently she moved to France in 2011, where she has made her base of operations. But before I introduce her, bring you on screen, I want to share with you a little snippet of what Miranda van Bruck does for a living. So hang on to your hat. Let's look at this. Miranda, welcome to the
Hi,
show.
yeah,
How awesome is that?
pretty awesome. It's fun to see back as well. It's one of my favorite shows that I've produced over the last couple of years. So nice to see it again.
Yeah, it's and the thing is, the one thing I like the first time I looked at it and I went, okay, cool, this is big scale stuff. This is, I know what you do, and I kind of observed that I don't know where the speakers come in, and then I started really looking at the video, and I started realizing what was depicted there is really the experience of the participants. It was really what they were going through. Like, it really looked like people were having an amazing time, and it feels really like this is something that you focus on, right?
Exactly. This is a perfect example of a experience that has been plotted out from A to Z, really going through the journey that a participant will make through this event. So it really becomes an event worth attending. And that's what I'm super passionate about, designing events that are not wasting your time, but that are worthwhile to attend, worth spending your money, but most importantly, your valuable time. to go to an event and then walking away from it and saying, yes, this really changed how I look at things, and something changed inside of me. That's the goal for many of the events that I'm involved in.
And the thing is, I mean, one of the big reasons I wanted to talk to you is that you do work at scale. I think the video has shown that it's large scale events, and we're going to get into some of the other things. But I also think that what you also shown is kind of an amplification, is that I sometimes think about the meetings that I host with some of my colleagues, or maybe workshops, and then you think about how much it actually costs to bring people together. And that's even more true. Like there's an expense, there's a budget for the event, but then also everybody's time, everybody coming to the event. So really the idea of like having a lasting, we call it sometimes, we're talking about the exit behavior, like having an impact is like super important. And you have to kind of design that with intent, right?
Yes, you need to know what the outcome is in order to be successful. And that's why design is so important. And a lot of events are being organized without a strategy behind it. It is because the event takes place every year. We're doing it again this year. There's no specific exit behavior that people are able to articulate. And that's where when I come in and try to help organizations to pinpoint that behavior change that they're trying to accomplish by organizing an event. Because an event is nothing more than a way for marketing communications to get the brand out, or to get people to buy their product, or to feel safe, or whatever the reason or the product is. But it is pinpointing that behavior change that you're trying to create, and then design for that behavior change to happen during the event.
Miranda, because the thing is, like, we riffed a little bit about this before we started talking about it, because I always, like, and maybe wrongly so, I talk about what is the event strategy, but you are really intent in saying this is the design. Because can you talk a little bit about that, and maybe also talk a bit about the process? Because I said in the beginning, human-centered design thinking, that kind of stuff. Like how do you get there?
Well, I use the event canvas a lot for the strategy sessions with clients. So it's is the business model canvas applied to events. And I think one of the most important things is to actually start with what is the outcome that you are trying to achieve? What is the exiting behavior that you're trying to achieve? So you go through all these things that you can see on the screen right now. What are the pains? What are we trying to alleviate? What is the commitment that people need to make? What is the return on investment that they are trying to find out? You go through all of this in so much detail, and then you start to try to pinpoint that behavior change that we can design for. So yes, it's very similar to strategy. I mean, this is strategy work. You're trying to find out who are your actual the people who really are in charge of this meeting. Who are your short list of how do I say it?
It's like stakeholders or target audience, or
Exactly. So who is the actual stakeholder here? And that's not only the participant. There's so many different stakeholders, and you have to make sure that you design for each one of them. So this event canvas methodology is a methodology that I very often use in order to get to those award-winning events. Because if you do this right, you can really zoom in on the behavior change that you're trying to accomplish, and then you're able to execute that in the event. And we're not talking about how many chairs or the tablecloth color, or the coffee and the tea. That's not the area of focus for me at all. It's really, what is the experience for the participant? What are we going to let them experience? What are the highs and the points where we're giving them calm again? What is that roller coaster of their experience going to be? And how are we going to make sure that those high points are being hit so that they will remember that event for the years to come?
It's amazing. And then the other thing that I was kind of privy to your design process. I think it was now 2 years ago when we went to Amsterdam, and we we saw you because you were kind of running a sprint there with some of the guys from the Event Design Collective. But what is interesting for me and what I saw there is that, first of all, you weren't focusing really on who's going to be the speakers, what is the experience. It was really what you just described. It's like, what is the intent? What is the entry behavior, the exit behavior? The other thing that is interesting at that scale is that you also iterated a couple of times, because I think probably more than this, there was three kind of iterations, because there was the element that happened in the Netherlands, and I think you did it again in Spain, and that was for one single event.
It's true. We did one live version in Amsterdam with the previous host of this conference. We did a live one with the future hosts of this conference where this event was going to be taking place. And then we did several online sprints as well, so that the rest of the world could tune in. And there were several iterations. And you're right, we're never talking about what are the speakers going to be, who is going to be, what the exact details are of the event, because that comes later. Only when you've got your strategy done and you've got your design done, you will know what behavior to change, and you can start to focus on the theming. Like, okay, if we want to have this happen, then what kind of theme would work? And when you have that, then you can start to find your talent. And that's why I very often get the question like, oh, you work with so many amazing speakers. I have a conference for doctors. Who would you recommend? And my answer is, I can't answer that question. What are you trying to accomplish? What is the behavior change that you're trying to accomplish? And how do you want those people to walk out of here? What's the focus of your event? And if there's no answer to that, then I won't recommend anyone, because it's useless.
It was, because, and I think also because I was thinking a little bit about, I mean, I was privy to the material that you sent me, and I had a look at it, and I was thinking about some of the other events that is more classic, where it builds around a speaker, and you always struggling to find this person. And I feel like the risk there, and I want you to either disagree with me or agree, is that the risk is that you're relying on the props, which is a speaker or a show or something, to make the event work. Where in your case, if you have a theme, and let's say one of the main speakers don't arrive, the theme can still carry the event, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's all about like, what is the experience that you're trying to create, and then who fits into that. So if it is around creating experiences, then you need to have somebody who can speak to that. And a motivational speaker who climbed the Everest is absolutely useless. It doesn't make sense. You have to really tune in very well on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then find the correct person, versus going like, oh, can we find a big name because that will draw people in, or that's out of balance, at least for me.
Yeah. And then now, talking about, if we get to the basics here, because the other thing that I noticed during the course of the demo, and I know that you get involved with way more crazy things, is that I saw people skipping rope, I saw people dancing, I saw people kicking balls all over the place. Miranda, it does not look like some of the events that I've attended, where we walk into like all the chairs in a row, you sit down. Like, how do you, like, I'm sure some of that happens, right? There is keynote speakers, that kind of stuff, but how do you intermingle all these other things? And what are some of those things that happened there?
Yeah, well, it's nice that you noticed that, because that was actually the general session room. That was the room where the keynote speakers are. And we put a lot of effort in designing the space. So we're putting a lot of effort in designing the space so that it works for different learning types. So you'll always have opportunities to be standing and watching the show, but you also have opportunities to be seated on a sofa, or have a table in front of you. So mixing up those seating arrangements just make it easier for people to have their preferred way of consuming content. Then the rope skippers and all of these kind of things, it had to do with the theme. We wanted to create this pep rally atmosphere, and that's something that's very, very known in North America. Every high school does it. They bring everybody in this big auditorium, and then all these crazy things start to happen. Well, Indianapolis is a big sports city,
Yeah.
and pep rallies are amazing there. So we really focused in on that theme and made sure that we informed all the people who were coming as well, that they could join in. So a lot of the things that you were seeing were actual groups that were really good at that, but they were then bringing in audience members or executives from the organization to really make it an experience for the audience and not just something to watch, but something to participate in.
And
And
if
yes,
I
it doesn't have to be boring. I mean, especially, we don't want meetings to be boring. We want meetings to have effect, but not only do crazy things because you can, because that's what's happening a lot in experience design, is people get very, very creative and all kind of crazy things are being thought of and executed, but the why behind it is missing. There's no connection to the why
yeah.
and there's no connection to the outcome. And then again, you're missing the boat. That's not what it's for. But it doesn't mean that if you're serious about your design that you have to have a super serious and boring meeting. It's the contrary.
It's interesting because like I spoke to a bunch of people today, and we spoke about memorable experiences, and the whole
Mm-hmm.
idea around memorable experiences is that there's elements of co-creation, but then also a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of time for reflection. Because I also
Yeah.
remember that you, I think, worked on an event at some stage where there was like yoga or times there's actually downtime as well. So it's not just
Mm-hmm.
about the crazy things for crazy things. There's downtime. You're designing that, but let me leave that there and put you on the spot. But this is now really a personal preference. Is that if you think of some of the work you've done and some of the work you can talk about, what is one of the more your more favorite experiences that was personally cool for you that happened in one of these events?
There's so many examples, but you did pick my favorite video. It's yeah, that conference in Indianapolis is just one example of the many many events over the past 15 years. But we were able to do so many things right, and our participants were able to just go into those Indy cars on the speedway and drive around the track. And
Okay,
with,
that's next level.
I mean, that was pretty intense and that was pretty cool. Yes. So that's definitely a highlight.
Not too bad, Miranda. That's a good one. That's a good one. A bit jealous, but a good one. I want to change screen a little bit and maybe change tempo a little bit and talk a little bit about, because the other aspect that I'm excited about that you bring to the table is the fact that not only do you do the strategy, and if I can find the right image here, is that you, apologies, I have to focus in and I'm going blind because I'm going old. There you go. And if I do that one, that is the one I want to
Mhm.
show, is that
Okay.
you not only do the design work and
Mhm.
conceptual work and like figuring all these things out. I put these images together because you're also the producer.
Mhm.
What really impressed me, like I saw photos of you with the headset on, and you can see the people with the switchers and like the production team in the back. How does it feel to orchestrate some of these events, and like how did you get into that?
Yeah. First of all, let me start by saying that for me, this is super important. I know that a lot of in the consulting world, it's very often we stop at the consulting portion. The implementation is for the organization or, for another group of people. And especially in events design, I think it's very easy to be able to design a fantastic event on paper and then say, oh, go off and do it. But
Exactly.
being able to be that bridge between design and execution, I think that's very, very valuable and also very necessary, because it's too easy to just say, oh, you should do this. Making it happen is something else. And if you can do both for your client, that is a huge huge value for which you can bring to the table. And yeah, the picture that we're looking at, it's a couple of different events. Some of them are super small scale, and super small scale in my world is around 600 people in a room. small small team.
600 people. Okay.
Could be 300 as well, Werner, don't worry. Or it's super big scale. And it doesn't really matter. The only thing is that I am indeed the executive producer for these events, which means that I'm the conductor. So I conduct all these, like just like an orchestra, I conduct all these different groups of people that do what they do best. The small events, so that's the 300, 600 people, I call the show as well myself. So that means I prepare a call sheet and I literally go like, okay, 3, 2, 1, we're going live, camera one, go,
Wow.
this go, audio go, switch to this graphic, do this, do this, do this. So then you are really, really the conductor, and every single person within that team does exactly as you say. So they also do exactly they really do exactly as you say. So if you don't say it right, that's on you.
Yeah.
So that's I really love those shows. Then when you go bigger, the teams become so large, and then I have a whole professional team and a professional show caller with me, technical director with me, and then we're just a really big team. And one person is saying the things, but I'm there to still conduct and oversee the entire technical production. Because when we're going live, I typically focus on anything that happens on main stage.
It's amazing because the thing is, like a lot of the events that you create and work with, it's not only what's happening in the main event. There's all kinds of little satellite experiences and things that happen all the
Yes.
time, right? And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that
and you
must
can't, and that's little bit the difference between myself and the event manager. So the head event manager is responsible for the entire event everywhere. Um, I help with the design of the entire event, but then when we go to execution, I go to that main stage room where the keynote speakers speak, where the executives speak, where the big shows are happening. And that's my 100% focus. So those doors close, and there's tons of things going on outside the rooms as well. That's different teams then also focusing again on those
awesome.
elements.
And the thing is, I mean, you did mention to me, and we were kind of talking about that because I try and put myself into your shoes because you're also an entrepreneur. And we'll talk a little bit
Mhm.
more about that later. But you're also an entrepreneur. And I think what is for me interesting with your business is that you have this ability to kind of scale up or scale down.
Mhm.
You know, how, because the thing is like having all these or bringing these people in, and I'm sure that they also there's a camaraderie that gets built over
Mhm.
time with different sets of people. But how do you
Yeah.
manage this? Like, what is kind of your secret sauce around like bringing people in, scaling up, scaling down, trust, that kind of stuff?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it all starts with the fact like what is really important is to not to try to do this alone. There are so many people out there that are afraid to share the piece of the pie, and therefore they're trying to do too much alone. And I'm finding that's not necessary. If you have a good network and good people that you can rely on, you can easily scale up and scale down. And for an event, we often start with a group of 3 or 4 in the design process together with the client. And from there, once that design process is done, um, the execution team comes on board. So the operational team comes on board. We're scaling from that little group of 3 to 4 to a group of 15. Then the event approaches and graphic designers start to work. So you're scaling up again, and then it's
Yeah.
on-site production, and it could be anywhere from 25 to 60 people staff running an event, or even more. It just depends. So it's and then I'm only talking about that main room at this point where
Yeah.
everything is happening. So in a live setting.
And then
So yeah, it's just adding, getting your network involved and trusting the advice that others are giving you, because you can't know the entire world. And the interesting thing with live events is that you're very often at a different place in the world, at a venue you've never worked at yet. So it's a little bit the nature of the work that I do, that you almost it's very rare that you go back to the same place so that you can work with the exact same team. So you travel with those who you really need, and you supplement it with local talent.
crazy. And then like thinking about this main room and all the people you work with. This is one of the photos you sent me where you're hanging out with the Blue Man Group. So you must
Yeah.
be like you. You must be meeting a lot of interesting people along the way as well. Like, is it, like you have this one, but is there some other kind of characters that you've run into during the course of your event strategy and event
Oh yeah,
design life?
absolutely. There's tons of famous people, and Deepak Chopra. I've had the opportunity to work with
Wow.
him several times. Um, uh, Magic Johnson. I've done a lot of prep work with him, and then all of a sudden he had to cancel. So that was also an interesting episode in my career when a celebrity presenter cancels. Um, um, some IBM really big shots. It's very very interesting the amount of people that you have an opportunity to work with. There's just some, some of them are slipping my mind now, but famous groups as well, famous artists. But the point is I don't know how you say that in English, but I'm not impressed by celebrity or rank in the organization. So for me, it's just, VIPs are very important, just as important as everyone else that is coming across my stage
Yeah.
and across my production. So it's yes, you very often work with really big names, but to me, it's doesn't really matter.
The audience comes first, right? It's all about like the
Yes, it's
production
for
and
them, and
yeah.
it's not about that one celebrity presenter or that celebrity group of musicians.
And then we just got a comment here, actually a few. So thanks to Faye who mentions that I have cool guests. Thank you, Faye. She was also one, and of course I have cool guests. Look at Miranda, come on. But and then also Gerrit just commented and said, I'll pop it on here. Vanner and Miranda, what a team for a conversation. I think it's more Miranda. Thanks, Gerrit. And then I have Staszek, a good friend of mine from Poland, who just popped in to say hi. Very useful comment there. He knows what I mean. So, and then here's the one that I want to share. Tahira mentioned that when you describe our world, it sounds so complicated, and it's kind of aligned with another question that I wanted to ask you: is it so complicated, but is it also fun?
It's super fun, and I don't know if it's complicated. And thank you, Tahira, for your remark, because I guess it's if you're in the middle of it, nothing is complicated, and it doesn't seem complicated. It's just hard to explain it in a very simple way, but
But I do, I mean,
yeah.
Miranda, I would say though, right? Because I think the reason I also want to be clear with folks watching this is that, I've seen a lot of the event stuff more from a design perspective, and over the years now, the last couple of years, I got involved with a little bit of event design stuff and then also production. But then I met
Mhm.
Miranda and I went, "Whoa, this is big," right? And I think what we sometimes underestimate is that there needs to be a bit of rigor. There needs to be effort. That there needs to be a focus on detail when you put events, because if you really focus
Mhm.
on that output that you want to require, so return on investment, and then also creating an experience, you have to, it doesn't have to be complicated, but you have to, I mean, the word I
Mhm.
use is rigor. You have to put a bit of effort into it.
Yes, and I 100% agree with you. It doesn't have to be a super long process to go through those design steps, but I firmly believe that you can't skip those. And even if you are putting in a couple of hours, that's much, much better than just skipping them and saying, this is what we always do. So let's do another event or conference or festival, just like we've always done it. Just go back to the why, answer that why question, and then find out how you can make that happen.
And just to recap what you said, Miranda, and this is also an experience that I feel is super important. Maybe not in the event space, but when I was working in advertising and we were running big
Mhm.
campaigns, is that if you really land, and I'm careful when I say the theme, the big idea,
Mhm.
the aspect that brings it all together, then everything else that comes along is much easier. And I think what happens is
Mhm.
that people don't want to spend that bit of design time, that investment to actually get into that space. And you kind of saying that little bit of design time is going to save you a lot of heartache and stress later on.
Absolutely. It is really like this compass that you're designing together, and then, oh, this is our true north. And we've now all agreed what our true north is. So now it's so much easier to get there. And if you skip that step, everybody thinks the north is something else, is a different direction. And that makes it very, very complicated. So if you're not skipping that step and making sure that you design together, then everybody is going into the same direction, and makes life so much easier.
And now, changing speed a little bit, because you were one of the people that I reached out to at the beginning of the pandemic. Was I looked around me, I'm lucky and I'm blessed to know a lot of events people. I've been kind of sneaking around in the event space a little bit, and peering over people's shoulders. And when this pandemic hit, I thought, oh no, like, like what are all my friends going to do? What's happening? You kind of shift gears quite fast. Can you talk a little bit about how things changed for you, and how it looks like for you going forward? Just talking in the context of the last couple of months of our shared experience in the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it all changed approximately in March. So I was still on site in February last year doing an event in Spain, and a couple of weeks later we flew to London in the UK for the very last event I did there for an association. And when I got back on the plane and got home, the world had changed. The world entirely changed, and everything stopped. And that's when also, all the programs that were on the calendar started to, either postpone or cancel altogether. So it was really a huge stop button that was being put on this entire industry. Of course, on the entire world, but this industry felt it hard and immediate.
Yeah.
The strange thing what happened is that not long after that, my phone rang, and the person that I formally reported into in my time at Meeting Professionals International, big association for meetings and events people, she called me and she said, I'm with a client right now and they have to shift gears. It's an agency, they are focused on incentive travel, they're focused on big corporate events and conferences, and everything is canceling. They have to switch gears immediately. They have to go virtual. And she knew that I had some virtual experience prior to the pandemic. And that accelerated everything. So it went really quick. Then we got to talk. I knew that the CEO of the organization from my network already. So it was a very easy conversation to have to start assisting them with their virtual event strategy, and to build up a network that they could tap into with different producers and platforms and things like that. So it was really helping them to change their organization immediately, tapping into the knowledge that I had from prior virtual events.
And Miranda, like a question, like you didn't really change your design strategy. That's still the same, right?
That's all the same. And what I find very, very nice and fantastic actually is that you have now a much easier possibility to have that strategy conversation. They are organizations and clients, they're much more open to have the conversation because they didn't know how to go virtual. So all of a sudden they were asked to be doing something that they had never done before. And that's when we could come in so much more easy to say, okay, let's talk about that later, but let's first talk about the why of
Yeah.
your event. And has that why changed? Now we're going virtual. So to me, it's been, such a joy the last year because people were so much more open to have that
So
conversation.
the impact of the pandemic was kind of also slowing people down a little bit to have and spend a bit more time and be open to have that strategic conversation, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, slowing down, I don't know, but
Yeah.
yes, on
Yeah,
the
that is a bit of a, yeah, that's maybe a wrong term to use. Now, the thing is, I have an image here that I actually want to show just to provoke you, and you know what this
oh,
is this is something from a group of people who are also focused on events, and I understand where this comes from, where they say like an in-person is like a classic luxury Rolls Royce, and then on the other side you have big virtual events, and you've also mentioned that you've worked on really big budget virtual events. But then there's this conversation about what is a hybrid event, and this group of people, and I can understand where they're coming from, is that they say a hybrid event is usually something that does both, but not anything quite particularly well. And I know that you have a perspective on that. And maybe if you, because I think hybrid is kind of where people are going to, or what people say is going to be more what's going to happen in the future. But I would love to hear your comment on this.
yeah, I so disagree. I so disagree. But I'm not saying it's easy. You really have to look at it and design for the different audiences. So you can't just design for an in-person event audience, put a camera on the event and stream it live and then say this is your virtual experience, because
Yeah.
that won't work. It won't work for the virtual audience at all, but it's also strange for the on-site audience. It's like there's other people there, but they don't really know about them and everybody forgets. So no, you have to really design an event, an experience for the live audience, I should say the in-person audience, and at the same time you have to really design that experience of the virtual event. And then the beauty is finding those moments where those two worlds can interact with each other, where they can not only collide, but really morph into
Yeah.
becoming one, and where they can learn from each other, where the virtual audience is not a lesser audience. They really become equally important for the entire experience of the event to
Yeah.
take place. So
The
I
virt-
couldn't disagree more with that statement, because I think it's a beautiful opportunity, and it's also an opportunity for people to be able to attend events that they were typically not able to go to.
I think what you're saying is, if I understand this, is that the virtual event is no longer the budget seats, because that was kind of pre-pandemic. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's a separate, albeit also holistic experience that you need to consider during the process when you design this.
Yeah,
Miranda, it's nearly time. It's about time for me to say thank you. It went so fast.
yeah, it did.
It's crazy, and I know you have a hard stop too. And I just want to thank you for sharing. The other thing is also, I want to mention that people can go to your Facebook page. I need to see the button where that is. So it's a content studio event production. But if people want to follow you and know more about what you're doing, I mean, you're posting content and you're doing all kinds of interesting things. Where can we learn more?
Certainly the Facebook page, but also the website www.thecontentstudio.com. You can always give
Great.
me a call.
Yeah. Phone Miranda. Miranda, I just want to say once again, oh, and by the way, like we haven't spoken about this. What is next for you? I think you mentioned, and you can't talk too much about the secret things, but there's something big coming up for you. Like what does the next couple of months hold for you?
Well, the next couple of months, it's really about going back to the live events and going into that hybrid world. And I do see some enormously interesting things going on there, where in the past years, we were sending out several big trucks with equipment. We were sending out whole crews of technical people to all these event locations. And this last year, we now have completely built out studios that can service big productions. So what I'm seeing as the next big thing is that crucial crew and a lot of equipment is staying in the studio buildings, and there's only one truck going out and only a
Wow.
very small production crew going out to the actual event, and everything else stays at the central base. And to me, that's just music in my ears.
Yeah.
It is a good step into the sustainability, how we can be more sustainable when producing events. And it's also a clever way of, of using or going more, how do I say this? To not have budget be
The
the
stumbling block
point.
or the block or whatever.
Yeah, the stumbling block of not going hybrid. This will give you an opportunity. Not It's not cheap, and not saying that, and it will still cost money, but it will give you an opportunity to service both of your audiences much better. And to me, that's an enormously interesting dynamics, and one that we're in the middle of right now to
And I
to
think there's
explore.
so many other things that's also going to come up. Like just listening to what you're saying, I'm going like, you can probably also start flexing your muscles around thinking about different kind of venues, because everything is a bit more mobile, distributed kind of experiences.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to see what you're going to be doing in the future. It's going to get really interesting.
me too. Thank you,
Miranda,
Weimer.
thank you so much. Thank you for joining me and making some time. I know you're super busy. And please go check out Miranda. I encourage you to go check out the Facebook page if you geek out about event stuff, but then also production stuff. She kind of lifts the curtain sometimes a little bit to see it behind the stage, and that's what I love. So Miranda, thank you once again, and I'll chat to you again later. Thank you. Bye-bye. Cool. So the next person I need to bring up is my good friend, Tammy Gulaloob. She's back with a coffee. Cheers, Tammy. Good to see you again.
Hey,
I was wondering, is there
cheers.
audio happening? Cheers. Seems like there's a little bit of a delay there, Tammy. Are you there?
I know. And it was, I'm here.
It's just weird that the video is very much delayed. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Can you do me a favor and maybe log back in again? And then we can rock and roll again.
Sure.
This is live production for you, right?
I'll do that.
Cool. We'll just wait for Tammy to log back in. I think there's a bit of a problem with the audio, it seems. But yeah, in the meantime, how's it going? We'll be back in a second. So yeah, we've got a few people that we want to have their profiles reviewed on LinkedIn. Call to action. If you want Tammy to have a bit of a look at your profile, or maybe you need some career advice, please feel free to reach out to me and DM me if you would love Tammy to have a look at some of your stuff. So let's see if this is going to be better for us. Tammy, I want to bring you on screen. Hello, Tammy.
Hey.
Oh, the audio is very
delay.
weird. I think we have a bit of a problem with the audio today. I'm seeing a delay. I'm just checking on my side.
Tell you.
I think it's
That's
better.
weird.
Okay, no, it's working again. It looks like it's
Okay.
working. Yeah, we can do this. So Tammy, while I have you online and
Yes.
we're doing our live thing here, how's it going? What's happening in Tammyland?
Well, lots of things are happening in Tammyland. If you move your camera over this way a little bit.
Oh, yes. Let's see if we can do this. Let me do this. I'm really not very well organized today. Let me do that. Oh, the book.
There we go.
Is that happening?
That is my book cover. Now,
ETA. You know that I'm gonna ask this. Estimate time of arrival. September.
Yes. I would like to say I'm a little sad that it's taking that long, but it is what it is.
It shall take as long as it shall take, right?
You know what? It's only taking that long because I'm working on some other really exciting things. And I loved listening to the conversation you were just having. because I need to talk to people who work in meetings and events, because I'm taking this real kick-ass speaking course, heroic public speaking, and I'm writing a script and learning how to perform. Woo.
It's amazing. And just to give people context, like one of the reasons you're doing that is also because I think sometimes people think that you create a book or write a book and then everything is about the book, but you're actually, the way that I interpret it is that you're looking at the ideas. The book is a way to get your ideas out. Getting on stage is a way to share the ideas. So you're kind of like looking at all the combination of things.
Exactly. So I don't know how to get on stage. I'm not good at that. Or I haven't been. I'm okay about speaking to groups, but I haven't been that good at, really giving like a full keynote or a full speech. So I'm in this intense program. It's wonderful. I'm learning how to write a script. I'm learning how to perform it. I'm learning all the components of what it takes to really craft a good speech that will delight an audience. And that's been taking over my life, though. So that's why the book is delayed.
You
But
have to
it's
do
all
what you
good.
have to do. But the other thing is also
Exactly.
taking over your life. And it looks like this button worked. Damn it. Is your podcast, Work from the Inside Out.
Yes.
You have a
Yes.
very interesting looking lady on the show this week.
Yes. E.B. Sanders. Yeah. She's a career coach. And she used to teach in the humanities. She used to be a college professor. And she found that teaching college didn't pay the bills. So she got very interested
I love
in
that.
helping people with their careers, and she did quite a pivot, and she's got really quite an amazing business going on now. She's very creative and is working with all kinds of people, mostly creative people, actually.
Wow, okay.
And she puts out some great material. She's got a great imagination, and she was absolutely delightful to interview. So she's on the West Coast in California, and I think the beautiful thing about her is that people don't realize that coaches aren't just good at guiding people through the process of whatever it is they're trying to transform, but a good coach also knows how to teach. It doesn't mean that they have to have a lot of content knowledge, but there is a teaching component to coaching. And it's an easy thing to forget, but when you know how to teach, it really does help the process along. One of the things that I just finished teaching a course actually in financial coaching. And one of the things that I tell my students is you can't hand somebody the fish, you have to teach them how to fish. And that's
Yeah.
the difference. And that's what coaching is.
Super interesting. And the thing is just, I don't know why I want to share this with you, Tammy, and the audience, but Miranda was really talking, and I mean, I'm still like I'm in awe with what she does, just at the scale of what she does.
Yeah.
And but ultimately what she works in is experiences, and I feel like she plays in the meaningful, memorable experiences where it's about co-creation, time to reflect, and it becomes memorable stuff. And the funny thing is the next level of experiences is transformational experiences. And the interesting thing there is that you have to coach a transformation. So
Yes.
it kind of steps into your world where like you're coaching someone, but it still has the aspects of co-creation, reflection, making things memorable, tapping into emotion.
Absolutely.
It's
Oh,
it's all
absolutely.
experience if you really look at it
is.
carefully.
Yes, and the type of coaching that I was trained in was intended to be co-creation, called coactive coaching.
Oh wow, okay.
The whole notion behind that particular approach to coaching is to really work collaboratively in a partnership with your client.
Perfect.
So you see your client as creative, resourceful, and whole.
It's interesting how
They're
these
not
things
broken.
connect, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also, as you said, transformational, that's a big piece of this heroic public speaking program that I'm in. We are being trained to develop a transformational speech.
That's
So I'm
interesting.
hoping to go out there and transform people's lives
Well, I
or
hope
help
that you,
people
I mean,
transform their own lives.
you're already transforming lives. I mean, I did a bit of experiment and I went to look at some of the profiles we've reviewed in the past, because I mean, people take
Yeah,
in and we're getting positive feedback. People send thank yous, and like some of the people I went to check, because I said, I bet you they like my wife and I had a conversation. I bet they didn't change anything. And the first person I checked is like, boom, a whole transformation of a profile.
really.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I have to say thanks to you.
Oh, oh,
But
I'm
tell
so
me, like,
glad.
we are actually here. I know also you don't have the world of time happening on your side. You're also very busy, and we have to close this down at some stage. Do you want to have a quick look at a profile again, and we have a quick
Yeah,
scan through? Um,
yeah, let's do that.
we have two volunteers. Is there one specific that you would like to have a look at, like a preference?
Well, I don't, I don't pick favorites. All right. So, but I know Marlos, who has been very generous in sharing her wisdom with us. Let's go with
Let's
Marlos
do
today.
that. Let's do that. Let me just quickly do my production things and not break something. Hopefully, pops. It worked.
There she is.
Marloes from the
Yes. Oh,
Netherlands.
Marloes.
Yeah,
Marloes. Okay, I said
Marloes.
it
Yeah.
wrong.
No, I mean it's not wrong. It's just alternative.
Yeah. Just alternative. Okay. Oh, look, there I am. I'm a mutual connection. All right.
There you are. Yeah. So Marloes was a guest on the show. She's an
Marloes.
innovation. Yeah, she's innovation consultant. She's also the creator of
Mhm.
the Zenith purpose tool. Awesome thing. One of my most favorite tool of the year so far. So far.
Actually, it is my favorite tool of the year so far, and I'm waiting for it to come out digital. I know it's available. I know she's created a digital version of it, but that's the version I really want to get my hands on
Yeah.
because I think I can use that more easily with clients. But
Yeah.
I love that tool. Love it.
Love, love, love,
Yeah.
love. Okay, that's
I
enough
mean,
advertising
love.
for Marloes. She's
Like,
not paying us.
like, not this kind of L,
No, no.
like this kind of L. Like
Like this.
this,
Like
right?
this. Sometimes I wonder why we go on for like 45 minutes an hour, Tammy, and that is why. That is why.
Because of
Uh,
this, right?
too much of it. So Tammy, Marluse's objective with her profile is that
Yeah,
on the one side she has this consulting business that she's running,
yeah.
like all of us. But then
Hmm.
also she is the creator of this new tool, and it's a
Right,
product that she would like people to purchase.
right.
And she wants us to have a
Hmm.
look at her profile to see if that is conducive to her objectives.
Okay. So, well, first of all, um, she's got some. I'm looking at the images in the banner area. So well, I'm looking at two things. I'm looking at her photo, which is very nice, and she's got it looks like her logo just behind her
Yeah.
in the photo, which is great. I think that's kind of a nice touch. And I think the image that she's got behind her, I don't speak Dutch. I'm assuming that is Dutch, whatever that says, in the sort of
Yeah.
yellow sunshiny area.
I think
I
I can
know it
even
says
read it.
something about
Echt betekenisvolle innovatie komt van binnenuit. Real innovation comes from the inside.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, wait till I can do
I
that in
wish I knew what
Polish.
it meant. I'm waiting. I'm going to wait. I won't hold my breath though. So, Amica innovate, innovate or innovate. that's her company, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if she's promoting her tool, the Zenith Purpose tool, I don't, is that what she calls it?
Yeah. So Zenith Purpose Anatomy.
Okay, Zenith Purpose Anatomy. I would love to see some image of that behind her because we already see her logo in her photo. I would love to see the Zenith Purpose, the cards, some version of that behind her, in maybe in the banner area,
Yeah.
possibly, just because I think it's very eye-catching. So that's one thing. Now, and yet what she has there is fine too. It's more than fine. It's very good. So underneath her name, as I usually say, that's the keyword, that's the area, the headline, right? She has her title and her company. Everybody tends to do that. That is not the most effective thing to use that space for. What she needs to do is come up with some good keywords that will make her findable on LinkedIn. So, what are the words that she thinks people will use
Oh,
to find
apologies.
her?
Those over there.
So, right, so that right there, follow the bouncing ball.
The Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah, wow, I'm impressed that you know about that. Not the Mickey Mouse Club, but the bouncing ball thing, because that's like from my childhood, which was a long time ago. So yeah, that area right under her name, that headline area, is so keyword sensitive. It would be great for her to come up with some words that would make her findable, whether it's I wouldn't even begin to pretend to know what words should go under her name, but they have to be words that somebody on LinkedIn is going to go into LinkedIn and they're going to say, I need to find somebody who has expertise in this or these kinds of things. So those are the words that need to go under her name.
Yeah.
Because right underneath that space is the name of her company already, and then her university, which is fine. So let's keep going here. All right. So we have her about section, and I know that since I do not know Dutch, if there's an opportunity to translate, then I could probably be a little more helpful. Otherwise, I don't know if you have that capability. I know that if I pulled up her profile on my computer, I think I could hit a button that would translate it. I mean, I have some ideas of what that says, but not enough. So essentially, I'm going to speak in some general terms. I mean, it's clear that she's talking about her company,
Yeah.
and what they do, and some of the things that the company does, and that's fine. I think that's her goal, is to really shine a light on what her company is doing and what, so I'm gonna put a few things out there for her, and Marlus, if you want to have another conversation with me about this later, I would be happy to. So I would say make sure that whatever you're saying here isn't just about what your what your company does, but what kinds of either problems it solves or what kinds of solutions it brings to people. What are people's pain points, and what are the solutions that you're giving to them? What kinds of clarity are you bringing to them? I know obviously with the Zenith tool that people get, a lot of depth and clarity and insight around their purpose. And depending on how you use the tool, it can give you a lot of different insights in different ways. And what I think is great about the tool is that you can really use it in a number of different ways. So it it has a degree of flexibility, which I think is great. So there's some
Yeah.
really good descriptive words about the flexibility of it. It can be used with lots of different people. It's accessible. It's not too complicated, yet it does have a level of depth and complexity. The benefits, though, what are the benefits of somebody getting in touch with you and interacting with you about what your company offers? So talking to people about their pain points and how will they benefit from interacting with you, and anything that might talk about, you know, what do you want people to know about you, Marlos? That you are, service oriented, or what can people expect when they interact with you? Or, how a little bit, that not, Amica is a, company that, is all about making sure that the customer gets their needs met. However you want to say it, I'm using very broad terms here, but I think that you want people to feel invited in to what you have to offer.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And do you think, like, maybe in this case, I mean, I think she's got a very, very strong Dutch network. Like, I've seen some of the content, and I would be hesitant to say don't go like with the language, but maybe having like a little English paragraph. I don't know if you can kind of mix the, like, have an English and then a Dutch in there about. I don't know if that's a good or a
Well,
bad
I
thing
mean, I don't know if that's necessary, only because it you should be able
to
to,
translate.
yeah, I mean, as long as she can give out her LinkedIn URL to people, there should be a way for them to completely translate the language. Um, you know, the thing I really admire about the Dutch is that their English is impeccable.
Yeah.
And the thing I don't admire about Americans is they don't try to learn anyone else's languages. And now that's not true of all Americans, but as a country in general, we think that English is the center of the universe when it comes to languages, and the rest of the world should just know English. And the fact is that, and I don't feel that way, but I will tell you that it's really the only language I know. And yet, I have friends in the Netherlands, and I do count on them to be English speaking, and I really appreciate they have. I mean, some of them have better English than I do. I mean, their command of language is
Yeah.
incredibly impressive, and so I say keep the Dutch in there,
Keep it going.
and make us English speakers, work for it. Now, if you start to have more customers in English speaking countries and you want to find a good way to communicate with them, you might say, put a little note next to your LinkedIn URL, that gives them maybe a little bit of a tip or an instruction about how they can access an English version of your profile if they're going to go there. Same thing with a website, things like that. But honestly, I'm not a super techie person, and I even know how to do those things. So I really think that we all have to find a way to understand each other.
Yeah, so Tammy, I'm going to change my profile completely to Afrikaans, and then I want you to review it.
All right.
Okay. So here we go. We're going over to featured.
All
Looks
right.
like it's
Featured.
her website.
Oh, very nice. That's a very nice touch. Oh, let's scroll up for just a second. I wanted
Oh,
to note something else that was very good. I like the highlights
she's
that
talking.
that she's speaking at an event. I think it's always great to let people know when you're going to be speaking at an event for a couple of reasons. One is maybe they want to come see you. Maybe they want to see a video of your speaking later, if you can make sure you get one. Maybe they want to hire you to speak at their event. So you want to make sure that not only that people know you're speaking at the event, but what are you speaking about? Also in the about section here, if you
Yeah.
are doing a reasonable amount of speaking, include the titles of some of your talks. No more than 2 or 3 titles, but make it clear that you are a speaker. If you don't, people won't see you as a speaker.
How do you add a highlight, or is it something that happens automatically? Because the thing is, I know a feature, like I play with the featured things a lot, especially with the live streams. I try and change the featured stuff, but I actually just realized now listening to you that this is the first time I've seen or had a profile that I looked at that has a highlight on it. Not entirely sure if it's because the
Yeah, I'm
event,
not.
maybe it might be the event tagged her in. It might be on LinkedIn and they tagged her in as a speaker.
It doesn't look like she added this herself. It looks like if she did, it does look like, it looks like it was added. It could have been added by the event people,
Interesting.
or it'd be interesting to find out. However, she would still have to give some permission or access to her profile for them to put that in there.
Yeah, I know. Like
So,
we can experiment with that, Tammy, because like when I create the live streams, I also create events for them. And for like Miranda, I added Miranda as a speaker at the event, and she has to give permission that I add her
mhm,
as a speaker. And I think that might be it.
mhm.
Like we can do an experiment. I'll tag you into the next one, and we see what happens.
Yeah,
Because this might be a nice way to highlight things
yeah,
on your profile.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if you're doing a small, little speaking thing, I mean, there are a couple of little things I have coming up for speaking that I would love to just have it as a highlight on my profile because it looks good. It's
Yep.
not, it looks good that you're speaking. I know I want to start looking good for speaking, even if it's a smaller community based event. It just shows that you're out there sending a message and that you're proud of what you do and that you have something to say.
Perfect.
So, no, it's great. I think we should find out more about that.
Yeah, I've made a note. I'll do some
Okay.
homework.
All right. Yeah, do some homework, would you?
Do something for a change. Let you do all the work here.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've been doing all the work here. Yep, I love it. Activity. Marluz has shared something. She's replied to comments. Perfect, perfect. Um, I'm always encouraging people when I see their activity that they didn't just react to something. When you see that someone's reacted to something, that means they just liked it or loved it or said it was insightful, but she actually made a comment or shared a post from someone else.
Yeah, and I
That is
think
a
yeah,
great way. That's a great way to improve your visibility on LinkedIn, is to be active in more substantial ways like that. And it doesn't take a lot, but the more active you are, the better visibility you will have.
yeah. And by the way, I think we just answered our own question about the highlights, because if you look at this is a post she made where she shared where she's speaking, and that is an actual LinkedIn event, like a event created in LinkedIn, and you can see that she's
Ah,
tagged, and this is the event she's talking at. So it looks like she's given permission to be tagged, and then you get that highlight on your profile, which is very nice.
nice.
Great. I didn't know that worked like that. It's great.
Yeah, wonderful. And here we
Great.
have her experience. Let's see what we have here. So, so she gives herself the title of business owner, self-employed. I would probably make that a little more interesting. Not to say it's not interesting. I don't mean that, Marloose. Don't get me wrong. But it could be a little more interesting. Um, so
It needs a bit of sparkle.
well, you're the owner, so you could be even to call yourself the principal or the CEO or the founder, something that packs a little bit more authority. Um, it's okay. We know you're self-employed. You don't need to label yourself self-employed in that way. You're a business owner. Clearly you're self-employed.
And another
Those are
Dutch,
just things that I don't know. I
yeah.
just think you don't have to.
I think it makes sense. Just to share with you, another Dutch coach that I met, he ran a few mastermind sessions. I forgot his name now. So bad. But he also, like, he was coaching around entrepreneurship, and he said, make yourself the president of
Yeah,
your company.
you are. I mean, call yourself the chief cook and bottle washer if you want to, but that's an expression we use
Sparkle.
here. Yeah. I mean, people sometimes give themselves kind of cute, titles like chief inspiration officer and things like that. I'm not big on cutesy titles, but I also am not big on titles that are very, let's say, vanilla or plain, like business owner, even if you just say owner or proprietor but I think, simply, CEO or president, something that implies both authority, expertise, and that you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we know that
She
Marluce
knows.
knows what she's doing. Now,
She knows.
don't scroll further yet, because Marluce, here is your opportunity. I know you have a lot in the about section. My hunch is that there may be some things in the about section that should actually be here. Unless this is one of those cases where this is on your iPad and we're missing some of the detail.
Let me see here. Let me confirm that for you, because it might be. Indeed, it is. So when you click
All
through
right,
an
then.
iPad, you
All
definitely
right,
have
then I
more.
can take my foot out of my mouth. All right, very good. So, excellent, Marlos. This is great. So you've got a link in there that must be to your website. Excellent. The other thing you can do in here is, for example, designer of the Zenith Purpose Anatomy game, for purpose definition. So I would include, if you could, a link to a video of somebody using the cards. And I actually know a very good video of someone using those cards. I've seen it, and it's really, really good. I think, what's his name?
Strange character.
I know who it is. I know. It's Werner.
We're terrible. But yeah, I mean, yeah, go check out that video. It's an awesome tool.
It's a great.
It's
you did a great job with that video, though, and that really got me intrigued. It really, really did. And so I think that would be a great. And I bet Werner would be totally okay with you using that video embedded in your profile. But it really, because when I see the name Zenith Purpose Anatomy Game for purpose definition, that does not really convey to me what the game is. That does not tell me what I know what it is, and that doesn't tell me what it is. Especially the word anatomy, I'm thinking purpose anatomy. Is it about bones and muscles and organs?
Yeah.
Purpose definition. So, my point in this is sometimes we name things because it means something to us, but you want to make sure it conveys something to the blind eye, the person out there who knows nothing about it. So I'm not telling you to rename it. I do think, though, you want to illustrate it. I would include some kind of visual. A video would be really effective in here.
Great.
It's such a beautiful set of images and cards.
Awesome.
So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
We are swooning.
So we are. So I see here you have some freelance work that you've done. I would also make sure that since these are freelance role, it looks like you had long-term freelance roles here. So whether you want to call them freelance or, because you clearly had, these are job titles above. So it's up to you whether you want to call them freelance or not. If you're thinking that somebody's going to want to check to see if you were employed for any reason, I can understand that. I don't think you need to put the word freelance there, and I'll tell you why. You spent over a year working for each of these places. You clearly did some substantive work there. It's not about lying. Here's the thing about what you can put in your profile. You put substantial work into each of these places. The point of having these on your profile is to demonstrate a level of depth, experience, expertise, and skill. So the fact that you were freelance doesn't really add to that. So if someone wants to ask you what it was like to be an employee there, you could say, oh, actually, I was freelance, so I didn't really get into the whole employee thing. But you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to advertise it on your profile. I would probably, actually, you're still affiliated with both places. I would probably just say that you work at both places. I don't think you have to say freelance. If you want to say part-time, you can do that so that it's clear to someone that you're not working full-time for two different companies. But it's your choice. I just think freelance implies something quite different than a company that might have made more of a commitment to you. And clearly these companies have made enough of a commitment to you where you've been with each of them over a year. So it's just a word that doesn't need to be there. That's all.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to give it a lot of thought because you're demonstrating your expertise and your experience. That's what we want to see.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there's a whole list
Now
of
let's
more.
see. Interim. Let me see this interim branded design thinker. Interim. Again, when we use certain language, what is the
Oh.
value of calling yourself? I mean, that may have been your job title, interim. So were you filling in for someone else? So you might have been, but you were being a branded design thinker. One way or the other, you were the branded design thinker. Maybe you were interim, but you were doing the job, right?
Yeah.
So
Good point.
interim again gives it a feeling of, oh, she was just filling in. Does that mean you weren't doing the job fully? I doubt it. I bet you were. I would get rid of the word interim. Again, these are small things, but guess what? They start to add up a little bit. It lightens your profile a little bit. It makes you look a little
I like to
not
use the
as,
word gravitas.
yes, gravitas. There you go. So again, there's many versions of the truth, and I am not suggesting that you don't tell the truth. I'm suggesting you don't tell every single piece of the truth. You tell as much of the truth as you need to reflect your best self. The fact that you were interim in that job probably has nothing to do with what you are capable of.
Yeah.
And the whole point of this profile is to demonstrate who you are professionally, what you're like to work with, and what kind of mastery of skills, knowledge, and expertise you bring to your profession.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, Jamie, it's like interesting you mentioned this is like, I think sometimes we do ourselves a disservice because people are so busy these days. And when we add this information, like what is the core thing you want to say? I was a branded design thinker. When you use the word interim, that person might get hung up on the fact interim builds a story where you actually want to convey the fact that you were a branded design thinker. You know, and
Right.
you, like reduce, but reduce the right stuff. Like get the right message across.
Exactly. What is it? Yeah. I mean, I think it's distracting actually, especially if you feel like you can really have a good conversation with somebody about branded design thinking. So, what is interim branded design thinking? It's probably just branded design thinking. So, well, I only did it in the middle. Now I
Yeah,
don't talk
I
about it
was
anymore.
interim. I just thought for a
Yeah,
little bit, not the whole thing,
yeah,
just a little bit.
yeah, yeah. I only did it for a while. Now I've forgotten all of it. No, I think we made our point.
Yep.
Look, then you have expert evaluator. Excellent. We want to know that, right? Expert evaluator. Yay. Strategic consultant.
Boom.
Wonderful. There we go. Branded graphic designer. Independent brand and business consultant and graphic designer. Excellent. That's basically your business, right? So you're in business for yourself. So that's fine. You're describing what kind of business it is and what your role is. So you're doing brand and business consulting and graphic design. Probably could shorten that a little bit, but I wouldn't fuss over that at all because it's we're talking several years ago, but also I think it's clear that you're capable of all these things, and these are all things that you have quite a bit of um, expertise in. I think, when you point to things that you did, here's a situation where it was close to 4 years. If you can also identify, you say helped companies to find the values that form the basis for business, value driven business. I'm not sure why value driven business would be in parentheses, but because that seems like a powerful term to me.
Yeah.
But I would want, and maybe after see more, there's more, but what kinds of companies? Was it a wide range, or were you working with particular kinds of companies, small companies, large companies? Tell us about the scale and scope of the kinds of companies you've worked with, especially if they're the kinds of organizations that you would like to be interacting with now. So, in other words, if it was all small companies and you don't really want to be working with small companies anymore, don't emphasize something you don't want to be doing anymore. But if it's going to add to your credibility in terms of your experience, by all means, make a big deal out of it. Or if they were companies in particular industries that you really want to be continuing to work within, then name those industries. If you have the permission from former clients to even name the companies that you worked with, and let's say that they're well-known companies, by all means, say who you worked with, because that's all part of your, that's part of your, what we call your social proof. It's part of your branding. It gives you the credibility.
Yeah.
So, it's sort of like taking, the description and making it more three-dimensional.
Cool. Let me know if
I
I need to
love all
stop.
your experience,
She's got
Marlus. I just
tons.
think it's
Yeah.
so cool. You have so many great things you've done. It's wonderful. Just wonderful. Excellent. So,
Okay.
anything else here?
That's
Should we
it. Then
go?
it's off
Okay.
to like education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Licenses and certifications. Very
And there you
good.
go.
Oh, I love it. Then you add some of your volunteer work. Now, volunteering, independent graphic designer, and that's your company. You're not volunteering at your own company. So, although some of us self-employed people sometimes feel like we're volunteering, I bet,
True.
I bet that So did you do, graphic design work for particular organizations that you could name, or even name, superficially if you did graphic design work for particular nonprofits, or if you're able to say that, and then if you have samples of that work too that you'd like to share, uh, by all means. But definitely,
Yeah.
it would be great to see what you've done with that.
So I just click through to see what's happening.
What's
Yeah,
happening
I just wanted to see if there's more
further down.
details. Yeah, I can't show you, but yeah, it just says graphic design for good causes such as Vrouwental, Women's Language Group, Dorpshuis
Oh,
House. So she does mention a little bit of it here.
oh, okay. All right, great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Perfect.
Okay.
And then, right, skills and endorsements. So it'd be great to get those numbers up a little bit, because that can help with being more visible.
Because she's definitely better
So
than 4 people.
yeah, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why you don't have more endorsements, because sometimes people give out endorsements like candy. So it might be the kind of thing where, well, I think I'll have to go on and give you some endorsements. That's what I'll do. So we all have to endorse you. So, because you are,
More homework.
well deserving of it. And you've got some recommendations. That's great. That one's a little aged, so it wouldn't hurt to get a few more.
Yeah.
These are a little
Definitely. I
old.
mean, and even for folks who've experienced the Zenith tool, because everybody that
Mhm.
I've demoed it to or used it, and I know that some of our mutual friends have also used it, I don't think
Mhm.
there's any doubt that people will step into to actually recommend it and
Oh
recommend her
my
work.
goodness. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is great. Publications. And then I would also encourage you to be involved with some groups. This is going to be a platform for you for getting the word out. I think about your, the purpose anatomy tool is something that can really be spread across the land. I think
Across the land.
about all kinds of organizations, human resource people would want to know about this.
Good
People and
stuff.
culture. Now they're calling it people and culture. So, right? People
Excellent.
and culture.
People and
So,
culture.
yeah. Yeah.
So Tammy, is that nearly us?
I think so.
It's a good session again. We have 1 or 2 other volunteers coming in, but Tammy Gulaloop, executive and career coach. I always love saying that. It sounds important because you are. If you're watching this and still hanging out with us, remember you can reach out to myself or Tammy, and we're always happy to. Well, I just hang on. Tammy will happily look at your profile. We're gonna experiment and talk a little bit offline about where we're gonna take this, because we've got some cool feedback from people. Let's see how we can evolve this into something more interesting. Because I mean, we have nearly, very close. We have an author. She just needs to be a published author, and then things are going to get out of hand. And speaker.
Crazy.
So
Just crazy.
Tammy, I'm just taking up all your time here. Thank you once again for hanging out with me at the end of the show, and thanks for reviewing the profile. And looking forward to the next session, and there will be a next one.
As am I. Thank you.
Cool. Let me quickly wrap this up and say thank you to everybody for hanging out, watching this. Once again, super privileged to be able to share Miranda's story. I encourage you to go check her out. And also, if you have anybody else who's as awesome and you can recommend them for the show, please let me know. The other thing is I have one ask, and that is, well, two. If you've watched the show and you've gotten this far, drop me a comment. I would love to get to know you and know where people are watching the show from. And then the other ask is that you jump into my mailing list, because that's the actual way that I let people know who's going to be on the show, when we're going live. Just makes it easier to let you know what's on, and keep you in the loop, because there's always interesting people, as you've seen today. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for watching. And this is the Creative Coffee Break, and I'll catch you in the comments. Ciao.